Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our XPM webinar that is also combined with our usual Ask Us Anything session. This is our first XPM masterclass, so we're going to be going into much more detail today. So hello, as everyone starts to come in and join us, please say hi in the chat, make sure that it's working and that you are able to connect with each other and also with our panelists. Let us know what you're up to today, where you're joining us from, test it all out, get ready to ask some questions. And as people come in, we will get started really, really soon. So it is so good to see the numbers and the participants coming up. We've got quite a few people who are joining us today. So it'll be a great way to spend our Friday afternoon. While we're waiting for people to join us, what I might do is just tell you a little bit about our amazing XBert panel that we have guiding us through today's session. So I think we should probably start with the boss. That's probably the correct thing to do. So we're very lucky today to have one of our co-founders, Aaron, with us, and he is right in there with the XPM integration and is pretty pumped about this. So, you know, we might just have to keep him on track because he can speak about it all day, but we are very lucky to have him here to be part of our masterclass. We also have the amazing Cassandra Scott, who I'm sure you have seen by now is our XBert practice consultant, and she is also right up there with the XPM integration and all of the best ways to ensure that you are getting the most out of XPM and XBert in your business. So we'll be hearing from her as well. And then we have the incredible XBert team of Soraya and Steve, our chief data scientist and our global success manager. Both of these legends are actually, if you have ever been part of our fast track program or would like to, these are the people that you'll be working with. So they know XBert inside out, and they're gonna give us all of the gold today in exactly how XPM and XBert working together can supercharge your business and optimize your efficiency, because that's what we're all about, really. So, okay, the numbers keep climbing, but we've got a lot to get through. So we're going to get cracking in our session. So let me just give you a quick overview and then I'm going to hand over to the team. Now, remember, as always, please ask any questions as we go. We're monitoring the chat. We will answer you in the chat. You can ask us in the Q&A as well, and we will get back to you. We'll try and cover your questions as we're going along, but if we don't, we will cover them at the end. And if we don't get to your specific question, we will get the information to you as soon as possible. So this is interactive. We do want to be guided by you and ensure that you get the most out of it. So the best way to do that is to get involved and ask anything that you want to know. Remember, there's no such thing as a dumb question, because if you're thinking it, someone else probably is as well. So ask away and we'll make sure we cover as much as possible and you get as much as possible out of this session. All right, so here is what we are going to do. We're going to start off with our task management. Now, we're going to look at that from an XBert perspective, but also then take that over to XPM as well. So we're going to start there. Then we will be going through how we can supercharge that with our workflow automation and how that links in with our XBert alerts and our AI audit, and how that is so crucial to make sure that you are getting the most out of it and have the highest quality data, which leads us into our analytics and reporting and how you can look from a higher level across your whole practice all the way down to a granular level in your clients. We will be demonstrating each of those things with specific examples for you to show you how that you can implement them in your situation. And we'll be giving some hot tips and tricks along the way. And then we'll wrap it all up with just an open Q&A session where you can ask us anything that we haven't covered for you. Now, this session is recorded. You will get a copy of it. We do break it down for you by questions so that you are able to quickly get to the bits that you want. So if you do need to duck out at any time, please know that you won't miss anything and it's available for you. But if you stick around to the end, you will have a chance to ask us anything you want. And we may even have one of the last opportunities to take advantage of our special fast track offer coming up before the end of the financial year. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Now, Soraya, I believe you and Aaron are going to get us started first. So let's talk our task management. So the XBert side of that, and then how the XPM integration plays into that. Just an overview, and then into some more detail and examples, if you wouldn't mind. Take it away.
All right, I'll take it over from you, Aaron. Cool. So I guess XBert, with all of the task management, there's a lot of different levels that you can manage your tasks within the product. So you've got that reoccurring task workflow in there. So you can set up all your reoccurring BAS schedules, your payroll reminders, but then you can also integrate your emails and have all your ad hoc tasks sitting in there as well. Then you can, if you want to have your XPM integrated, you can link up your processes and map all of your tasks through to the tasks within XPM, and then push all of your time through in there.
Concise. I think you must say that a lot every single day. Aaron, did you want to add to that? And then Soraya, would you like to do a bit of a screen share for us?
Yeah.
I would love to add to that, everyone. My chance to actually open up. Thank you, Soraya. Look, to put it in perspective, one of probably the key glue and the magic that we worked on was really around simplifying how we get time out of XBert into XPM without a lot of management. So one of the key features to start looking at as Soraya goes through is we did introduce a new integration page. On that, we show how you connect XBert to XPM. And probably the part that is the most relevant point is we connect at processes. And in XBert land, we call those processes, and other people call those services, say, and the workflows are generally connected from setting your workflows into your processes or your services you sell or work on. What we've done is by combining those and building what we call XPM linking. And today, I think what we'll highlight, Soraya, as we go through is really showing that's the magic underneath, is how does XBert find active jobs with tasks on the XPM and auto link that so that there's no manual effort once you get up and running to actually have all your time flow into XPM. And I really want to highlight that because behind the scenes, most people don't realize under the cover, it is doing a lot of magic to work out what's the active job, what's the active process. And some of those is by using, the convention in XPM, the labeling, we even take the start dates and start to build and find the right template based on the months. So I'll cover that as we go through, but I really want to say that's probably the key piece out of taking away is the linking magic. So that's my piece from a technical perspective. And Soraya, as you open it up, I'll sort of highlight that. But and it's all configurable as well, which is a good, nice addition.
Amazing. And we love that you love to get all technical as well and give us all of the details. Soraya, was there anything else that you wanted to actually, sorry, not Soraya, Cass, did you want to add anything to that before Soraya gets into her screen share from an industry perspective?
Yeah, probably the key thing I would suggest too is the focus from a task management perspective with the XBert XPM integration moves out of XPM and moves away from the need to set up either calendar reminders or spreadsheets, complex spreadsheets where you've got a staff integrating with them to try and tick off that they've done certain things at certain times for certain clients in the work cycle. It moves all of that friction away from XPM and those things back into XBert, and there is no friction when you're doing it with an XBert because it's all centralized, it's all trackable, it's all traceable. XPM basically then becomes just your billing tool at a very, very top level. Whether you're billing clients that are on a fixed fee basis, you're able to monitor your WIP in XPM, or whether you're billing on an hourly rate basis out of XPM. It collects your timesheet data, it facilitates the billing process, and all of the task management and the granular day-to-day activity sits in XBert and just is so streamlined to use.
Amazing. It's all the heavy lifting as well, isn't it? There's so much involved in keeping track of all those tasks and spreadsheets and all of the things. So, with the correct setup, it's it's the compounding effect of that time saving. So Soraya, would you like to give us a little demo of the tasks and processes and the linking between XBert and XPM?
Yeah. So I'm currently on the workboard, which is where all of the tasks will sit once you start to allocate them out. So give me 2 seconds. My Zoom thing is very much in the way. There we go. All right. So we're setting up all of our reoccurring workflow within automation. And these would be those tasks that Cassandra was talking about that you would be doing on a daily basis that it probably sits under XPM, but you can actually manage it here through the dates and everything. So if we jump into payroll services and we look at a template, our templates are those generic reoccurring tasks that we would do for our clients. And we would set all of those up through here and creating subtasks, adding client information and instructions for the team if you have them in there as well. Once you then have that, you've got your schedules, and this is when it pushes it to the workboard on what day and for each client. You can see here we've got a fortnightly Wednesday schedule for these 3 clients and a weekly Wednesday schedule for one of these clients. Then it brings it back to the workboard and creates that task that I had open. So you can see in here, this brings it through on the date, gives it the start date and the due date that we need, and we can drill down and start working on that task. Now, Aaron was kind of talking about linking it with the processes for XPM, and you can see that this already has the XPM job allocated to it. All of your processes are mapped within your settings and your processes. So your processes in XBert, and like Aaron was saying, kind of similar to your service offerings, you can map to your XPM task in here. Aaron, is there anything you wanted to touch on with this mapping?
No, Sarah, that's you've articulated it well.
All good.
I'll cover it when we're doing the linking.
Yeah, great. So if we go back to the workboard and we open up this task, we can start to work through this and go through the subtasks. We can use the icons down the bottom to reassign to team members, change due dates, add all of your activity and comments. So I can say, Aaron, please process the pay if I wanted to. He would then get notified to do that. Then this time feature is where we start doing the time tracking, and you can see that it's loading the XPM job. It's already picked up the job that we want and the task that it needs to go to in here. Now we can start to do some time tracking. So we can actually start a timer on this while we're working on it if we want to. And we can pause that at any moment or start it. And then that would then push through. You can see it's billable through here. So that would push through as billable time, but you can always edit that and make it non-billable time through there as well. And then you can commit that. When I go back to this job, I can then see that I've got that 1 minute through there. Now you can push your time through to XPM. You can set up that it automatically pushes through as well. And then this would then go to that specific job task within XPM through there. So, yeah.
I'll just add, Soraya, because this is a great introduction area to talk around what I was mentioning before, everyone, this XPM link. This is the sort of the glue, because setting up repeating tasks, one thing you don't want to do is go back and look for the job, look for the template task, and have to manually do this each time. So what we've built is logic that every single task, based on the process, it will find the best active job. So if you have multiple jobs, it will use start dates. Now, one of the journeys we went after as well is is having one single template, but then we noticed the notation will be month. It might be bookkeeping, January, bookkeeping, February, bookkeeping, March. We will actually go through using the start date and find the right month based on the task. So we work the same way as you set up and configure your XPM to automatically associate XBert tasks to the right job task that's open in XPM. And I just want to highlight that, because getting that link there just cuts down a lot of the time. And once you set that automatically push to XPM, obviously any time entries now don't get missed. So thanks, Ray.
Yeah, so you can do that timer, or you can also update the time through here and leave comments on that time as well and commit that again through there. And you can see here that I've actually gone over my estimated time, so it's starting to be red. So you can now see your progress bar going across all of your clients, as long as you're adding your estimated time in to the templates in there. Then you can keep up to date with all of your tasks using your statuses, which you can configure all of whatever you need in here. And then you can see across here that this one's in progress, not started, but I might go, this is now for review. You can even have some of your statuses automatically assigned to manager or partner roles if you wanted to as well through there. So that's kind of the reoccurring workflow aspect of that. Now you can always create your ad hoc tasks via the workboard by adding a task here or adding quick tasks, and then you can link that to a process and a client and also push through time in there. And I think, Cassandra, there's you do a little bit of internal time as well. And I think I get that question quite often. Is there anything you want to kind of cover in terms of pushing through your internal time within XPM?
Yep, sorry, just unmuted. Yeah, so for any practices, particularly if you're using Practice Manager, there's generally an internal job in there where you capture your non-productive, non-billable time. So training or professional development or business development, or all of those sort of bits and pieces that we do. So the way to actually do that with XBert in play is again using an automation template and creating that automation template on a monthly basis and booking time up against the task in the automation in the task when it generates on the workboard. Now, even though Soraya and Aaron have demonstrated, yeah, if you want to click through that one, Soraya, and go through to the time icon, even though you can see at the top that it's mapping to your internal job in Practice Manager and to the administration task by default, you can actually change that task in there. So if you're doing training, for instance, it mightn't be administration that you need to book this time up to. It might be the business development, or okay, we've only got one task on that job in Practice Manager, but you would just swap the tasks as needed to book your time up. So on a monthly basis, each staff member will have a single workboard task that they're tracking their internal time to, that will push through to the respective job in Practice Manager as well. So that's covered in any other way that any other recurring type work is for any other client. You become a client yourself, but it's just tracked to an internal job.
Thanks, Cass. And that's actually brilliantly, it led nicely into what we'd like to go over next, and that is our optimal setup for both. Now, thank you to those questions that we can see coming through. We are going to start addressing them. I think it was Amy around the tasks. Love that. So we can get across that and around FYI. And also I saw, oh, that one's been answered. Amazing. So before we get into that optimal setup, what we'd love to do is I'm just going to launch a poll now that is around who is currently using which software. So this is just around XBert and XPM, just to give us an idea of where you're at and what we need to focus our time most on as we go through this setup. So I'll leave that playing for just a little bit. Now, the reason that we are going next into just some hot tips and hints and things around your optimal setup is that it is that compounding effect that you've heard the team talk about so far. So if you want to do something well and you want to take full advantage of how the software integrates with each other, then it comes all the way back to that setup. Now, the good thing is that, you really can't stuff it up because you can always change and customize things as, if you've done it one way and you need to do it another way, or as you take on new services or new clients. So you're never set in stone, but taking the time to get it set up right is going to ensure that you have the most capacity to take advantage of it and save you the most time ongoing in there. So while we do have a tendency to sometimes think, oh, I'll just do this way, or it's okay, I'll just have a crack at it, that getting the base right has such an important impact ongoing in how effective and efficient you can be. So Cass, would you like to share with us now, and we might get Soraya to stop sharing her screen. So Cass, you can share yours, if you just show us the best setup as far as XPM and XBert working together looks to get us moving forward. And I'll leave that poll going for just one more minute. We've actually nearly had everyone answer us already, but get started.
There was a question earlier from Nesta, and I know it's been answered online, but it was about mapping an XBert client to an XPM client, and that's actually able to be done here quite simply. So if you started using XBert for analytics and then you're bringing in your practice manager clients, or vice versa, you've got your practice manager clients and then you're mapping them through to your analytics clients, you can just actually connect through here and make sure the mapping's correct. So I know from my practice, I've got some Xero files where the name is their trading name, but in Practice Manager, I've got the legal entity name here, and it's just a simple case of saying this one matches with that one, and you've got the connection in place. Best practice in terms of Practice Manager. And look, I've worked with Practice Manager over a number of years with a lot of bookkeepers and a lot of accountants, and I've seen some really, really interesting setups. And one of the biggest challenges with Practice Manager has been that you've never been able to deal with the granularity of recurring work, which has meant people have either sort of started to put supplementary systems in place, spreadsheets, Mondays, ClickUps, all of those sorts of things, or they've really tried to bastardize Practice Manager to try and get that recurring work happening. And that bastardization has come generally in two forms. One is their task list gets really, really blown out. They have a task for everything they do. And I've seen tasks on here, enter bill, apply payment to bill, reconcile bill. I have seen task lists here that detailed. The other way they do that is on a job. And on the job, and I'll just jump in, and these jobs won't reflect it, but what you will have is a job where you're perhaps doing a monthly BAS, and on the job you've got BAS agent services, June BAS, BAS agent services, July BAS, or for a monthly BAS. So you could have a job that's got 12 tasks on it, one for each month, or the other thing that I've seen with jobs is that they deploy a new job for every iteration of that task. And what that ends up doing is giving you a job list that becomes overly complicated and really challenging to manage. And the experience that a lot of practices have is either they themselves as the practice owners disengage from that process, or their staff start to disengage from that process. And the quality of the data that's available then diminishes significantly and reduces the ability of the practice owner to get great insights around what work is on, who's doing it, when they're doing it, how long it's going to take, how are they progressing with it. So if you're looking at a best practice framework for starting to consider, and if you're an XPM user or even considering building XPM to integrate with XBert, I would start very, very simply, and making sure you've got a really nice, clean task list is the first point there. Whilst this is a demo file, we've got some stuff here from from an accounting perspective and a bookkeeping perspective and an internal perspective. I would suggest that really you shouldn't need any more than maybe 10 to 15 tasks on your tasks in Practice Manager to begin with, because the finer detail and the granularity of what you're going to be doing is actually going to be happening in XBert. From a bookkeeping perspective, these are some of the header tasks that I would see, and I got this information. I polled a whole group of bookkeepers only a month and a half, 2 months ago, and these are the big things that we do for our clients. We do BAS work, we do consulting, we do bookkeeping. These would be what I would expect to see replicated as your tasks in Practice Manager. When you're jumping into XBert and you're starting to have a look at your settings and you're defining your processes, and as Soraya said earlier, your process is pretty much your service offerings. This is where these become a little bit more granular. Now, you may not want to have every single one of those listed as a process. And to be honest, I probably wouldn't have, because to me, accounts payable and receivable, bank recs, they all sort of generically fall under the heading of general bookkeeping. But in here, you would have your more detailed processes, and each of those processes then maps back to a singular practice manager task. So once you've got your task structure in Practice Manager correct, the next thing I would be looking at is how your jobs are structured. Now, I know a lot of jobs come into Practice Manager in various ways. So there's people that are actually connected with Ignition as a great example that deploys jobs out on your behalf, or you've gone through the process of setting up jobs yourself, or you've got a repeating job schedule in play. Our recommendation from a best practice perspective is you really only need a single job per client per year. Our preference is to run the jobs for calendar year rather than financial year, because I don't know about you, I've got plenty to do at 30th of June anyway, and recreating jobs is the least of my concerns. But I would be looking at a single job per client, and this is the same irrespective of whether you're billing your clients in a fixed fee basis or an hourly rate basis. The other thing that I would also be looking at is, keeping your task list very, very generic on here. It doesn't matter that you're doing your BASs monthly for this client. The fact is you're doing your BASs, and when you've estimated, generally you'll be estimating for the BAS work, not the BAS work on a monthly basis. Similarly, you'll also be having a rough idea of hours, particularly for hourly rates. You might sort of roughly know what you're expecting to have from a capacity perspective and deliver. From a fixed fee billing perspective, you may have some more defined information about what your annual estimates are for the delivery of this particular service to your client. So I would recommend having an estimate in here as well. The other reason I recommend that, and Aaron's probably sitting there squirming in his seat at the moment, but I do know that XBert are talking about starting to leverage off of some of this data in terms of deploying tasks out into XBert. I've said it, I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to, but it's out there. But this is where you can start to prepare now in a best practice way for stuff that, whilst it's not happening now, has the potential to happen in the future, and will just continue to enhance the XBert XPM experience. Even without that happening, my recommendation is you've still got this information in here, because it's actually quality information that you can start to work with. Your job in XPM becomes very simple then. You might want to use custom fields to be a little bit more detailed about what you do and when you do it. So from the client manual perspective that a lot of bookkeepers talk about, this is incredibly valuable. And then you've got your financials. So if you've got a fixed fee client, any of your invoices are coming through in here through the Xero repeating invoice function. And if you've got an hourly rate client, your timesheet entries are starting to aggregate, ready for you to do your billing at the end of the week or month, or however frequently you bill your client. So best practice, keep your practice manager really simple. Don't try and overcomplicate it. A number of the discussions I've been having with bookkeepers over the last few weeks, and accountants about ready to step into XBert, is cleaning up your task list, particularly if a lot of people have jumped in with the default Xero rollout of Practice Manager. It comes with a predefined set of tasks, and I think there's about 35 of those tasks already predefined. And when you look at them, they're actually the same thing. It's prepare a BAS, review a BAS, lodge a BAS. That's all BAS work. It doesn't need to be separated out to that level. So once you've got your practice manager structure reasonably tidy, and look, you don't need to do that fully before you jump into XBert. If you've got tasks that you want to get rid of, just blow them away. If you've used and booked time up to them previously in Practice Manager, you still have that information sitting there. The task just can't be reused. And if you're a little bit nervous about it, some people like to just pop a ZZ in front of it so that the task can't be utilized. From there, again, it's mapping your processes or your service offerings here to the tasks in XPM. The other thing I would suggest you start to have a look at too is the statuses that you might want to use within your business. So one of the challenges that we've had within Practice Manager is that the job states is limited. So you can change the state at a job level, which impacts on the whole job in total, not at the individual task level on the job. Here, these statuses actually relate to the task, not the job in its totality. So you can start to get really, really clear on what the status is of all of the different elements of the work that we are delivering for and on behalf of our clients. And the other thing that's really cool about this too is think about what happens when you change a status. Does the change of that status mean that somebody else needs to review the work? And this is a really good example here. So if you're changing a task from in progress to for review, and it could be going to the partner for review, you can automatically say it is to go to this person. So instead of you having then to say, hang on, I've changed this from in progress to review, I now need to tell you that it's there for review, that automation will kick into play for you. The other thing I would recommend you having a look at is your client tags. Now, your client tags do populate from some of the data running through from Practice Manager into Xero. So when you do connect the two products together, you can do, and I'll just jump in and bring this up, you can import your XPM client groups, and your XPM client roles will actually also populate the partner and manager here. The accountant bookkeeper is still a manual assignment. But your client tags is a way of basically flagging at a client level various pieces of information that are relative to that client. It could be, are they a member of a client group? Are they a, bronze, platinum or gold client? Do you do STP finalizations? Do you do TPAR finalizations for them? Because those client tags can actually be used in any sorts of filters as well. It's just another way of collating and aggregating data and information, leveraging off of what you've got sitting in XBert. So I would definitely have a look at your client tag list. A little hint around probably your note topics. So as Soraya has indicated, your note topics are where you've got client specific information. My recommendation is to prefix them with, what function do they relate to? Payrolls, reconciliations, and sort of starting to have a standardized data structure moving through as well, so that when you come to use them, there's actually logic in the lists. And really from an XPM perspective, simplification of your jobs and tasks, and then let the power of the automation templates really drive everything that's actually going to be happening on a day-to-day basis. And I'm not sure why that's not flashing up. Let me just go back to there. There we go. Jump out of there. Let your templates in here really take away from Practice Manager all of that granular tracking that a lot of people have tried to undertake. It doesn't need to happen in here anymore. It happens in here. And if you've got it set up and start running through it, it will work beautifully. When you come back to these tasks lists, and I noticed, I think it was Amy that was looking for a list of tasks to start with. This is the starting point for you. These are the things that as bookkeepers, we do on a regular basis for our clients. So start to use these as a structure for generating your automation templates in XBert. Lots of information come out there. Anything anybody wants to add to that?
Should we let Aaron have his say around your announcement earlier? Cass, did you want to
my announcement? Oh yes, about that.
We'll give Aaron a chance, and then look, if you're following along in the chat, if you've got any questions about anything that we've addressed so far, please keep asking away. Aaron will let you have a bit of a say now, and then that might actually be a great segue into hearing a bit more about analytics and reporting from a practice level from Steve, and then we're going to get more into the nitty-gritty around the automation of the workflow.
Yeah, and while Aaron's switching his sound on, Jody Stewart, when invoicing from Practice Manager, do task descriptions flow through from XBert? Absolutely. So if you were entering a task note in or a timesheet note into Practice Manager and you're entering that note into XBert, it flows through in exactly the same way. So it's brilliant.
Okay, and put me on the spot, Cass. So, which I love. You are correct. We have all of the XPM data, and what we're working on is really making it easy that if you have the information in one system, how do we leverage that into our system? some of the challenges there is, as Cass mentioned, the estimation may be at a yearly level, but you may schedule that out at a monthly, weekly. So there's a little bit of work going on in the background, but we are, and it's sort of a bit of a segue, and I can end with this a bit later, but we have started our very first practice, XBerts. They are actually live in that demonstration portal, Cassie, you were just going through, but the first ones have started to be done. We are helping now alert you where you have active jobs, but you don't have any workflow set up for clients in XBert. So really around that relationship around, hey, something's not right here. You've actually got something running in XPM, but you haven't configured this in XBert, and you've got your workflow set up for that client. A big one and a huge one that quite excited about. The next one is, this is not XPM, but this is XBert and payroll. We are now detecting where staff have work allocated to themselves on due dates when they're on leave. So part of this relationship around protecting not only just the quality of the data in the ledger, but it's the quality of the operational efficiencies in the practice. So stay tuned. I could talk all afternoon around this, everyone, but you'll be hearing about this over the next week. And I'll, if we get a chance later, I'll even show those experts in the actual Working Smarter Connect portal, because they are in there just in case people want to see that what I'm talking about is actually real and exists. But some exciting sort of ways we're going about using this data, which is what Kaz is talking about. There's lots of data in there that we can now, we have the ledger, we have XBert, and we have practice information. We're combining that together to make automation even more powerful by understanding really the relationship to the work going on. You know, who's working on a time, who's missed time entries, and we can see that, you know, people have been working in the file. You know, bringing that information out rather than actually people going looking for that stuff in the old traditional way, I call it.
Amazing. And while you're on a roll there, Aaron, before we hand over to Steve, did you want to talk a little bit about some of the analytics that's being developed at the moment, since we're, you know, sharing all of the upcoming excitement?
I certainly can, Steve. I might steal some of your thunder. We have our time-based reports, but what we're moving now into is really getting deep and starting to uncover with the estimations. So really around WIP sort of progress and missing, as I said, missing timesheets. And we're going down the path of also looking at really what's the forecast. When do things look like they're not going to be right based on the budgets that we're seeing in the XPM data. So that XPM information is really going to highlight, and we're going to use that to actually understand where people are up to. So, hey, I'm not, you know, if I've got a yearly job, it'd be great to know about it 3 months in advance that this is going to go over before I've actually hit the end of year, and suddenly I'm needing to claw back all that time or have that relationship with the customer while I was going over. So that's part of where we'll get the analytics going, and we have all that information. But over to you, Steve, if you've got more to sort of talk through there, or
let me take myself off mute before I start talking. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll pick up 2 or 3 things, I suppose, from what's been said so far, and just show a couple of extras in both the product and in analytics where we can start to dig a bit deeper, and particularly around that sort of WIP that Cassandra mentioned, sort of managing things in XBert, because, and correct me if I'm wrong out there, but I think the feedback we're getting so far is that what might have traditionally been sort of managed in XPM is now a hell of a lot easier in XBert. So people are starting to choose to do more there. And as Cassandra was saying, it's sort of setting up a simplified list of things to manage in XPM itself. So I'll just share my screen with me. Hopefully that's coming through all right. Just wanted to quickly show this screen if we haven't, I don't think we've seen it yet, but you know, with all the time logging that's happening against all of the work in XBert, and obviously that pushing back to XPM as well, this team overview screen here, which is within the work area, provides a good kind of summary, a good whip in terms of what's happening, who's got what on. We're looking at absolutely all time at the moment, but we can drill into particular months and see what's happening there as well. This combines the estimated time with the actual time. You can see that one just there, 40% done. So, you know, for Aaron, we know that within BAS, and this could be the, you know, the service offering, the BAS services service that Cass was talking about before. It maps back to XPM. You can see that Aaron's got about 7 hours or 7.5 hours estimated time in total, and 4.5 of that remaining. And then very quickly to sort of see, okay, 5 things remaining, of which 5 are overdue, and clicking once to see exactly what that is. So in terms of taking this a bit further and going, well, how are we sort of, you know, if that's sort of showing us our point in time, our whip, you know, can we go a little bit more consolidated perhaps in terms of.
Sorry to interrupt you, Steve. We're just getting a few comments in the chat that it's just a little bit hard to hear you. So if you wouldn't mind just being a little bit louder, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, I shall bring my microphone closer. Hopefully that's better for everyone, but seeing out if that's no good. As Aaron mentioned, we've got a little bit of reporting around actual time at the moment. This is an example of that.
Sorry, Steve, you've made it worse.
Okay, I'll move the thing away from me. How about that? Is that getting better or worse?
Better, and just keep speaking loudly.
All right, okay. So, yeah, hopefully everyone can hear me all right. The reporting you're seeing here is around looking at the consolidation of all the time that's been logged. So this is the actual time. So you come out to this when you want to see a bit more of a broader perspective across the business, as in your practice, perhaps by clients and the way things are getting built or not built, sort of total amount of time, centralise, looking across staff as well to see where that time is coming in. And just if I get to, just trying to get to my. What we've done now is just come into the task report. Again, this is already available within XBert. If you want to really drill into some of the trends that are happening across the business with regard to tasks and the processes, aka the services that are sort of mapping back to XPM, this report is super comprehensive in terms of its analysis of what's been going on. Now, as with many reports in XBert, there are several pages, in fact, many pages to this one. You can see them across the bottom here.
Oh, Steve, I'm so sorry. You keep breaking up, and it's very, very difficult for everyone to hear you. What we might do is, I'll just give you a minute to see if you can just check your microphone settings, and we'll come back to the analytics. But following on from that now, while we let Steve just get sorted on those technical issues, Soraya and Cass, we've talked about optimal setup and how our tasks and our processes work together. So can we now take that down another level and get into our workflow automation, how that interrelates with our alerts and experts, and how then that carries across and it all marries together into XPM so that we can show just the true time savings that are being achieved by these integrations.
Sorry, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I saw your
Oh, sorry.
your microphone was off, so I
wasn't quite sure what Tegan's question will be. Yeah.
Yeah, no, all good. I'll share my screen. So I guess with like your service offerings and the process list that we were talking about, every single task that you have will map to one of these processes alongside all of the 70 plus AI alerts that we have. So the benefit is these essentially are tasks. So incorrect ABN for business, you would probably not be checking all the time, but we're pulling that up for you at the same time. you can choose where you want these alerts to sit so that when you do come to the workboard, you can come and you can focus on payroll services. And now I'm just looking at XBerts, but I could look at, you know, payroll services just for Bobby the Builder. I can see any tasks sitting under here, but I could also see the XBert alerts at the same time that relate to that as well. So if I look in here and just at XBerts, I can see that I need to go through and check the earnings rate category and the employee annual leave settings that are incorrect. So when I'm in automation and I'm setting up a template in here, you'll notice that it always asks you to choose what that process might be. So in here, I've mapped it to payroll services. Now, these are your reoccurring workflow tasks, but this second tab down here is all of your XBert automations. So I can actually go into my payroll services area and I can see which alerts are going to be sitting there alongside. So when you start to break down potentially into, and I'll just keep using payroll as an example, but a weekly view of your payroll tasks, you'll go in to submit the pay, but then you might see that there are 3 errors that you need to go and check up on the file, and you want to make sure that that's been done beforehand. Cass, anything else you want to kind of add to that, putting it in practice?
Yeah, one of the questions that often comes up is, okay, so I've got all of these XBerts and I'm going through the process of resolving these XBerts. Do I book the time up to the XBert, or do I book the time up to the task that, you know, another task that I might have? And when you're looking at these, you think about it, and, you know, payroll is an interesting one. It could be done as part of your weekly payroll review or your fortnightly payroll review. When you're resolving some of these, or you're looking at them, you're going, well, actually, I know that they're all under control. We've dealt with those, or you go in and you deal with them in bulk. It's not always necessary to book time up to those individually. And I think realistically, you're going to find some resistance with staff and even yourself, if you're using it, to having to go in and book small time increments up to each of the XBert resolutions. What I would recommend as a best practice is resolve those 3 check earnings rate category XBerts, and then you've got your payroll task for payroll review and processing, or it could be general bookkeeping. Make a decision internally about where you want to see that time reflected, and then book it up to that task. So particularly if you've got fixed fee services as well, that might be part of what you're doing, is the whole bundle of services. So you don't necessarily need to book it up to each individual XBert, but you can if you actually want to do that. And that's one of the really cool things about XBert, is you can use it in so many different ways that best suits your practice. If you want that granularity around how long did it take me to resolve the XBerts individually, absolutely. But my recommendation is, if you can consolidate and book up that time singularly to a task, that may be a better option within practices as well. That's all I'd flag on that one.
Cool. I guess also flagging, if there are a few people kind of on this webinar that don't have the XPM integration, you can also do all of your actual time logging in here just without linking that XPM task up as well. So just thought I'd add on to that. Aaron, is there anything you kind of want to add in terms of mapping?
Not in terms of mapping. It's probably just worth just highlighting that little icon on the left. Sorry, it's one I get asked about with the time and the person. Just there's all the time as well. So once you do actual time, everyone, you can break now your time into any process, any time period, and any client. So once again, now that's just quick, easy. What if my staff actually be putting time in? And you can do it at a process, service level, client level, date-based. You can see where it's pushed, it's billable. And everyone loves a good old export to Excel button. So we do have that one there, because that's the firm favorite across the wish list. But yeah, so here you can get your time entries for any item, whether it be XBert, put the time on there, or the task. But now you have all of it in one area you can audit.
Since we've been using it from a practice perspective, certainly as a practice owner, the ability to surface that information is so much more simpler in XBert than it ever was in Practice Manager. So we're probably not touching Practice Manager anywhere near as frequently as we were pre-XBert. Everything that we do now on a day-to-day basis is pretty much driven through the tasks generated through the automation templates and the XBerts in XBert. Day-to-day basis, that's what the staff go in, they look at that. Probably one of the really good things worth highlighting, I think, is the views that you've got available to you. Because when you first jump in, and we haven't rehearsed this, Soraya, but if I talk, you can drive.
I was just about to go over this, because it's like the biggest thing that I run through and want to make sure everybody knows how to use all of the views. But yeah, keep going, Cass.
Yeah. So when you look at it, you go, oh my God, that's a mess. There's so much information there. And, you know, we bookies are a little bit OCD sometimes. We like things nicely sort of segmented and lined up. As a user, the view is what you're looking at, and you've got the capacity to actually filter and present that in a way that suits you. So you might be going in and setting a filter. My favorite is actually dynamic up to today. Yeah, that's my favorite one. And then if you do the filter, where are we? The assigned team user, I actually like as just Cass. So if we want to select Cass as the assigned team user, and I give that a name, Cass Daily View, and make that my default, save. That means that when I log in to XBert and have a look at it on the day, that will be the view that I'm presented with by default. So I set up a number of different views depending on what I want to see. I've got a review that just gives me everything that is for partner, job state equals partner review. I've got others where we want to just look at a particular segment of clients, and you can default these. You can share them with your team as well. If you want to just go and have a look at the Cass Daily view, Soraya.
Yeah, just to highlight that all of your views, once you do save them, sit here, and it's really easy to access them.
Yeah. So you'll see now that the focus is only what I need to think about and work on up till today. And it gives me the opportunity to sort of filter again by client if I need to, or filter by process if I need to. It could be that you've started working on a task, and let's say the bank rec task, and you can't progress with it because the client hasn't provided you with the information that's needed. Waiting on client and then snoozing it. So you might have sent an email out to the client. You might have, if the client is connected to XBert, you might have used the at notes to send it. You can snooze it, so it disappears off of your workboard. But when the time's right, it pops back up again for you to have a look at, and all of your snoozed stuff is still visible if you need it as well. So these are some of the really cool things that we use that were always problematic in trying to keep track of previously within the XPM framework on its own.
Amazing. You are both incredible. Now, I've just given a bit of a prompt in the chat, and just high five also. I love that Soraya's been driving, but you probably wouldn't have even noticed as Cass is talking and Aaron was talking, she just mind read and just knew exactly what they were doing. So I love the synergy there, guys. All right. So I just asked a question in the chat. So if you wouldn't mind, if you're playing along at home or at work, what is a specific task or job or service related to anything that you do that you would like us to give a demonstration of how you do it using XBert and XPM? And we'll go a bit of a day in the life style for you, where Cass will drive us through what that looks like, specifically when you are undertaking that task. So you can see in real time the time saving and the ease that it creates. Now, while you are having a little think and seeing who's going to be brave and kick us off, otherwise we've got a bunch we can choose for you, but we'd love to know what you want to see. I would actually love to see the breakdown of who's who, what's your role if you are here joining us today. How many bookkeepers have we got? Business managers, accountants, other. If it's other, you do have to tell us in the chat because I always want to know. So I've just launched that poll for you to contribute to. And that will also help us choose, if you don't tell us what you would like to see a demonstration of in a task-based scenario, then we will choose 67% bookkeepers.
Yay, go the bookies.
Love it. Well, Cass, since they're leaving us to choose, would you like to give us a bit of a day in the life of show us?
Okay, I can do that.
Oh,
I've got
we've just got a question coming in first around, can you create a task from XBert from email? You know that one.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that if you want.
Yeah, so that's actually a great question, Michelle. I've just confirmed I'm sharing the right screen now. You can see XBert again. Yes, awesome. So every user in XBert, all of your staff users, will actually have an email in address. And I've gone to the wrong area, haven't I, Aaron? Shoot me now.
In the menu, yeah.
In the menu.
Connect users.
Yeah, that's all right. Each user will have an email and address. So if anybody's familiar with Dext or even the Xero to Bill, same sort of principle. It's a unique email address linked to the user. You would just forward the email into that email address, and it will notify you through activity that there has been an email come in, and you're then able to assign that email and set it up as a task, map it to a process if you need to. Depending what it is, track time against it. It'll have the full text of the email, and it will even have the smarts to work out which client and which job the time needs to be booked up to. So yes, absolutely. And again, if you just need to add a singular task in, so perhaps you've had a phone call and you need some work, you can just jump in here, add a task. If it's something that you've got a template for, a really good one is perhaps a client's rung you and said, could you process leave for so-and-so, they're off on sick leave today. You could potentially have a template that says, how do we process leave for a client? Choose that template. You've got your processes, you've got the ability to track time, and it's all ready to link back into the job. But in terms of favorite automations, I don't think we've had a suggestion come up from, no, there hasn't. So you're going to get one of mine, which is a little bit relevant, I think, at this time of the year. And it's actually one I put into my practice yesterday. So again, you've got your job in Practice Manager, and it's a client that we do payroll processing for, where we're doing the onboarding of their employees. We get the employment contracts from the client, and the employment contracts come in, and it said the package for this employee is inclusive of superannuation. So we all know that super is going up from 10.5 to 11% on the 1st of July. And we want a way of being able to track and communicate who we're doing, or who of our clients fit into categories where they've got employees with super inclusive contracts. So what we've done in here is we've created an automation template, and we've linked it to just a payroll group, and I'm probably not going to be going into it really deeply. Employee contract review, inclusive, and I can't spell for the life of me at the moment, contracts for super increase, or words to that effect, and then FY, and then using start date as the date placeholder. And the reason we're doing it as a template as well is because we know next year and the year after, I think it's until 2027, super is going to increase every year. So this is something we're going to be having to do over and over again. We've popped a bit of a note in here, checking of employees who have employment contracts that are inclusive of super and may need pay templates updated with increased updated. So you can be as detailed or as limited as you want to be in there. Then we've got our subtasks, email to client, asking about employees with inclusive contracts. And what we've also done in here is we've put under our instructions, email template. So we've actually got the email template or the body of the email that we'll be sending out to our clients to ask them the question about whether or not, if they've got an employee who's got an employment contract that is inclusive of super, whether the employer is going to wear that 0.5% increase, or whether or not it's going to be an adjustment to the gross wage for the employee once it increases by that 0.5%. So we've detailed all of that in there. We've then got that link to our payroll process because we're calling that part of our payroll services, not started at this stage. We've got our rest of our subtasks in here. So I'll just add that. Get response from client. And this is very simple. Ours is a little bit more detailed around it. Update employee records if required. And when I first started seeing the XBert workflows, I actually wished we'd had them through JobKeeper because they would have managed the JobKeeper process far more elegantly than we had to. So really, really simple workflow here. Again, you can make that as detailed and as complex as you need. We reckon this is going to take us maybe 30 minutes per client to do. So we save that down. And then what we've done is we've added our schedule to this. And the person that we're actually going to be getting to do this work is the accountant or bookkeeper that's assigned to the client. We want this to actually trigger on the 19th. So we want this to start then. We've made the decision to do it then, not now, because we want to get it as close to the end of year as we possibly can. And these are the 3 clients that we know we're doing payroll for. Now, we've gone through the process and I don't know which of my clients have got inclusive or exclusive employment contracts. So in the first instance, I've added all of my payroll clients on here because it's actually really easy to remove a client if they're not required on that schedule. And if you do remove a client, it gives you the option to remove any tasks that have also been generated for that schedule as well. We want this to occur on a yearly basis because we want this template to run next year. No end date at this particular point in time, and we would hope that this would be done no more than 10 days after the start date. We don't want it to generate too far in advance, or we want it to generate on its actual date, not a month in advance. And we do want to activate this schedule immediately, and we save. So at this stage, there's no task going to generate because it's not going to start until the 19th of June. But what I will do for demo purposes is bring that back a week and have it starting on the 12th of June. Save, yes, create 4 tasks. If I now come back to my workboard, I don't know why the task didn't generate with the date. Aaron, help me out, help girl out on that one.
I was going to let you know it's start month.
Bugger, sorry, start month. It's because we've been having those emails about start dates, dates. So
yeah, that's right. We are going to support start date number, start date month. That's a
So okay, that's all right. So that's actually a really,
just so you know, we're also going to support when you do type the little square brackets, it will put a drop down of what's supported. So to make it a bit easier.
Yeah. So if I just change that now to start month and come back to the workboard, you can actually see that that's now brought the month in. So you can stuff up a template, but you can fix a template as well. So we're human, we do that. But you can see this has now appeared on my workboard for me to start to undertake this work. I get to this bit, I need to send the email out. I can simply copy the body of that email, paste it into my email client, send it off to the client, make a note in here then saying email sent to client, pop the time on here that it's taken me to do it, because how many times doing things like this have we lost time because it's been one of those ancillary things that we've done for our clients. This is a really great way to really start to focus on capturing the time and, you know, billing that back to clients if you're an hourly rate, or building it into your proposals or extending your proposals if you're fixed fee. 5 minutes, email sent, commit it. It's gone through to Practice Manager. Status is now waiting on a client, and I might actually snooze that now for a week, so I don't need to worry about it. Save, and in a week's time that's going to pop back up on my workboard, and I'm going to say, well, yes, we've had a response from the client, no, we haven't had a response for the client, and then take the next step in the process. And I would have also ticked off that I've done that element of it. So if I disappear and somebody else picks that up, they know that I've sent the email out, and then they can see that we're waiting on the response to come back from the client. So that is as simple as it can be. And in terms of deciding that this is an automation template that we would create, we've got all of our standard ones, our BASs, our payrolls, our super, all of those things. This is where you can really start to focus on other things that you do in your practice that have often been problematic to capture at other points in time. So I hope that's been a really good deep dive example, Tegan, and is really relevant to where we are at the cycle in the financial year at the moment.
100%. And I did like our little detour, let's not call it a mistake, because the benefit of that was that you actually demonstrated just how easy it is to change something if you do accidentally put in something different or wrong, or you need to make changes as you go along. So I think that just showed the intuitiveness and the ease in which you can use the product.
And so, again, I'll just highlight, if you do come back and you decide that this client is actually not, if this template's not relevant, we can just deselect that client and save it. And here's where it says remove all incomplete tasks. That task has now disappeared for that client from my workboard. So you've got really, really great flexibility in how you update and how you remove things, and how you manage it within your practice.
Yes, and I think that's the thing as well. It's all of those little things, and I keep using the word compounding because that's the quickest way to describe it. Is when you are, managing multiple clients or a large practice, or even just small things, you might have a system where you're going, okay, these are the changes that I need to make, but you have to do it for every client individually. Even if you're just using, your calendar to remind yourself, or heaven forbid, sticky notes, it's each individual instance, you're having to do that separately. And then when you make a change, you have to do all of those changes separately again. Whereas you set it up once, and then you can choose the parameters that you're using, you make that change. And the intuitiveness of our product is that it will then assist you when you do make those changes to make sure that they happen across the board. So you set it up once.
It's also very much standardization as well. Historically, that process, for instance, when we talked to staff about it, was okay, we need to do this, we need to ask this question of our clients, and everybody's sent out an email that's been slightly different, or they've approached it in a different way. So what the value of the automation templates is bringing a standardization into the way that you do your work, which means you're much more efficient. Everybody's working from the same playbook. You know that when time's being booked, it's around the same thing. You know that everybody's delivering to a standard. You've got the ability for staff to then support each other probably better than they have been, because they know they're all doing it this way. And it's a great training tool as well.
Thanks. So we are on the home stretch now, everyone, and we did unfortunately lose Steve due to those technical issues. So Aaron, I would love to hand over to you just to wrap us up with some of that practice level analytics, and also anything else that you have hinted at that you haven't covered throughout our session. And then we will be finishing up. But as always, if there are any more questions, please keep asking them, but we'll be wrapping up shortly. So Aaron, over to you.
Thank you. Look, I want to jump on, Cass, because you're using one of the favorite small little things, but the snooze. I know we spoke about it there when we were actually on workflow, but one of the things of using them in XBerts is actually a really cool way of getting them off your board, and they only come back if they don't get fixed. So a lot of people don't realize, like, what do I do with these? Actually, you can snooze them if you're waiting on a client, you're waiting on someone else to give you that bit of information, you're not going to do anything with it, you think it's going to go away. Not only can you control the rules, but you can snooze that, and we'll only bring it back on if it does not get resolved in that time period. Just another little way of cutting through that work where you can get it off, you're not focused on it, the list looks smaller, and actually get out of my way so I can really just have a list that exactly as you said, what do I need to work on right now? So I want to add that little piece. So look, I'll bring it back, Tegan, the big grand piece that obviously we are working on. Really is those practice experts. And Soraya almost had it up on her screen earlier before with the expert list. I mean, they are experts, but what we are working on is XBert will also not only be able to resolve in the ledger, it will be able to resolve workflows. So when I have tasks now assigned to users, we will be able to say, here's a bulk action to reassign it to all of these people. So, you know, when you've got work, you know, someone's going on leave, suddenly you've got all the payrolls on, employees on leave, you know, and you're needing to give, you know, you don't know that's going to happen before the week away because you're not monitoring the leave they put in 3 months ago. We put an expert in front of the person and we actually give you now the way of fixing that directly in the product as well. So really what we're going after is that relationship, not only about telling you, but also getting the product to help support fixing it as well. So stay tuned. These are all coming out over the next week to 2 weeks. And I look forward to getting any feedback. And I will drop in a list and I'll drop in a little practice experts to the webinar today while we are chatting here of the up and coming practice experts that we're working on. So jump on Facebook, jump on our roadmap, let us know any other issues or other practice operational ones that you're interested in. That's me, Tegan.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, we will wrap up now. Soraya or Cass, is there anything? Oh, yes, good point, Soraya. Sorry, where she just sent me a secret little message. Aaron, you're not off the hook yet. Would you like to, since we lost Steve, would you like to just give us a little bit of an overview of the analytics of one of the hot topics at the moment around onboarding clients and pricing and activity review? So knowing what you're actually getting yourself in for, what's the data quality like, and how to just best utilize XBert to then be able to price accordingly and make the most out of your new client and getting them set up correctly. And I also, Cass might like to add to this at the end, because I know in one of our other webinars, she spoke about something that they actually now include in as standard when they onboard new clients too.
The race is on. Yeah, I'll let Aaron talk more deeply about the analytics, but one of the things that we use XBert for now is an audit when we're onboarding a new client. So we're able to actually look at the quality of the data that's sitting within the client's Xero organization, because we all have clients that we engage with that tell us their files are absolutely perfect and there's not much in there, and you know, it's a really, really easy job. I'll just jump into the data quality and share my screen on this. Here we go. And again, I'm pretty sure I've got the right screen up again, guys. Yes. Yep, excellent. This is starting to look at data quality. This is actually the practice one by the looks of it that I've come up with, not the client data quality. Look, I got to say, one of the things I'm always doing is jumping to the wrong report screen. So this is the report I'm looking for, not the other one. So my apologies on that, everyone. Starting to look at, and again, it's not hooked into any clients. I've had this problem before. Sorry, guys. Aaron, do you want to jump in on this? Looking at the wrong.
Yeah, I can certainly jump in. Let me share.
Yeah, it's a demo file, kids.
Yeah, the demo on the spot. Steve should have been switch across. He's got a different demo environment.
Yeah. I'll stop sharing and I'll let you share yours.
Yeah, so I will take over sharing. So we're here on the analytics screen, and I'll just focus in the time we have to really, I'm getting the same, now my little, get that menu out of the way. Okay, I just wanted to share the activity summary. So put this in, so what we're doing here is we're monitoring and tracking all of the activity across every ledger in your practice for any time period to understand the relationship of the work that's going on. So you can easily just jump into single files. I have files that, so looking at over month, over time, each activity grouped into source, you can jump into the detail, drill in. These are contact level activity to actually see where all the bank transactions across every file. You can drill through to look at the comparison. Trend reporting. So really when you're starting to price, it's actually, so this is across each, so you might want to just actually look at the trend of what's happening on one single client. Importantly, that question of where does this client feels like I'm doing a lot of work. So where does it actually sit compared to other clients? So this is the relationship. So you might say, you know, for this client, I only, you know, as a practice, I don't do the invoicing. So you can also drill in. You might want to actually only look at the relationship to the work you're doing and compare where the clients are for any time period. And see that actually Blue Soul Technology is the clear front winner out of all of the work I do in this very small test environment. And obviously encourage everyone to put their own data on because it actually makes a lot better of a story than looking at the test environment. We do have the activity done on a client basis that was released last week. So you can go into your individual client. So that was a practice. You can go to, and I'll go to Blue Soul over here. These are client level reports. So everything we do is at the practice, but really you might want to actually share or bring up this report. You don't want to have your practice name. So you can come into the client, select the client, open the report. And you'll see that now we have a client level report, right? Client name. So screenshot, share it, PDF it. But now you can actually have a conversation on the data why you need to increase your prices because you're actually doing a lot more work than you actually priced for comparative to last year. So let the data do the conversation because it's far easier and obviously empowers that relationship to why things need to change. And little spoiler alert, there are in the background some new reports going on year-on-year comparison. I know it's been a bit of a firm favorite, and some in the audience out there I saw writing before would already be trialing this with us as well. But that's me for analytics. I think, as I said, it's new data. I mean, that's what I want to emphasize. This is not data that is easily accessible in a way. So you can look at not only the relationship, the activity, we do have all of the health check reports as well, health scores, bringing that in. So a lot of reports, a lot of information, and a new way to work and a new way to make decisions that help support how you would price and onboard and have that hard conversation about why you mightn't want to take on the client at the same rate you would another. I think Cass can probably nod her head better than I can as the technologist.
Yeah, and even with existing clients. So, we've got fixed fee agreements with clients that we engaged prior to having XBert in play. And with one particularly, I've just gone through a price increase, which is almost double what we were charging them. And clients come back and said, yeah, why? And was able to just sort of surface this data immediately to say, the volume, when we did our original fixed fee pricing, we based it on this level of volume. You can see here that the volume is actually this. So whilst we didn't have a starting point in XBert, we just made some assumptions based on what the client had told us, what we could see instantly in the file without having sort of the deeper analytics around it at the starting point. And we based our quote on a certain level of rate of effort. We were able to demonstrate to the client that that rate of effort was significantly different than what our estimate was. And they've just said, okay, not a problem, understand perfectly. So that's where these sorts of conversations come in. So we're now taking a snapshot when we onboard a client of what their data set is. And again, that gives us some opportunity to move it throughout the year if we need to as well.
Amazing. Cass. Thanks, Aaron. So we are going to wrap up now. And so, Aaron, oh, great. See, there you go. Mind reader, didn't even have to finish my sentence. Now, we're going to wrap up here today. So thank you so much for your time. If something comes up for you, you want to know more about it, please just reach out and let us know. You will get a copy of this recording, and we do break it down so you can review the bits that you need to. Now, next steps for you. So we had a mix of people on today. Some people had not yet started their XBert trial or were not XBert users. So I'm going to address this to you, but we also have options if you are already a user or already using XPM and just want to supercharge that a bit more. But first up, so we're coming up to end of financial year, and we are wrapping up our amazing fast track deal at the end of this financial year. So if you are thinking, all right, this looks amazing, I do want to have a go at setting XBert up, potentially integrating XPM as part of that, and I would like some help. I want to make sure that I get it right, I set it up well the first time, and then I can get the most out of it. I would make the suggestion that you register yourself for one of our very last fast track spots before this offer ends. So basically, Fast Track is a program where we help you customize your setup of XBert. It's not all us doing it for you. It is a two-way street because we need to make sure that you are invested in across it and able to maintain it ongoing as well. So usually when we do something like that, because it is time intensive for all of us, it takes about five hours of your time and 5 hours of ours. It's $2,000, but up until the end of the financial year, we've actually reduced that significantly, and it's only $500. And on top of that, you actually get 50% off the first 3 months of your subscription. So not only are you set up as fast as possible to get going and to make the most out of it, but then you get that ongoing discount as well while you are learning. And we also help to make sure that your setup and your whole team is across it as well, no matter what that looks like for you. So if you've seen today, oh wow, that looks amazing, you've seen the things demonstrated and that it is so customizable, and you are across the idea that when you do implement a new system or bring in new processes, there is the work up front to set it up right, but then you have that time saving down the track ongoing that more than anything pays you back for all of that you have invested for it. And it also ensures that your clients are connected correctly and that everything is working as optimally as possible. So if you would like to do that, I'm going to launch a poll right now just for you to let us know. If you are interested in Fast Track, we will be in touch ASAP. If you're like, okay, I would like to have someone help me get started, but I think I want to have a chat about it first, we can do that for you too. If you just want to have a one-on-one session with us just to see what XBert looks like, please let us know. We can do that too. And if there's something that's come up for you, but it's not any of those things, but you do want someone to reach out to you, just tick the bottom one and we will have someone get in touch with you ASAP. So that is basically it from us. Coming up, we have another pricing master class that we are doing with Ignition, because that is always a big one. We want to get everyone set up as effectively as possible with the new financial year coming. So our next lot of webinars are really based around that and how you can wrap up everything this year and move forward in a place of growth and maximum efficiency. So stay tuned for all of our emails. If you are not a member of our Facebook group yet, you'll see a little link in our email. Join in there because the discussions are ongoing and the questions in the community there is so valuable. You can ask anything, and it's not only our team that are answering, but also other XBert users are in there, and everyone just jumps in and gives you their feedback and their help and support. So it's an amazing space. If you're not part of it, please come and join us in there. And as always, we're always available in the chat, in the app to chat to. So ask us any questions at all. And yes, stay tuned. There's lots of goodness coming, and I hope that you got a lot out of today. So I'm going to end that poll there. I'll give it a little bit more time, but thank you so much to all of our panelists, including Steve, who we lost along the way, but that's all right. We'll get him back again soon, and we'll be doing some more work on the analytics as well. So thanks, Aaron, thanks, Cass, thanks, Soraya, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. We will see you again soon. Bye, everyone.